Son of Jaguar is a 2017 360 animation about a luchador facing the most important match of his life. It's directed by Jorge Gutiérrez, who also directed The Book of Life, and is distributed by Google Spotlight Stories. Gutierrez's storytelling is just so classic. It's got that high and the low. The pacing is just spot on. The opening sequence and the closing sequence, which sort of serve to bring you in and out of the story, are very beautifully done. And it's got a very Pixar animation-like feel to it. Like a lot of Pixar shorts, Son of Jaguar has that emotional pathos going for it. It's a family story about a father and son, and the generational facing the biggest fight of their life. So there's a few sort of tear-jerking moments in there, and it's quite emotional in that way. At the very start of this film, the viewer is introduced to the protagonist and his family, and the film does a really great job of creating a strong emotional connection with the main characters, so that as the tension in the film naturally builds and builds, you become more and more invested emotionally, and that really drives home the emotional poignancy. One of the things I noticed with the use of the 360 video was that there was actually a lot of use of the vertical space. So as the audience were looking straight up at times and straight down directly after that, and it sort of introduced a nauseous feeling and made the film quite hard to follow at particular points, not the entire time. At one point, the viewer is placed directly into the story, where one of the main characters is looking directly at you. And at first, this sort of felt disorienting to me. I was sort of looking around going, where is he looking? Who is he looking at? Who's talking right now? And then I realized it was me talking. So that was a sort of a cool moment, but if you don't pick that up, that you're actually the one in the story and that you're actually a part of this whole story, then that particular section might be a bit confusing, but I really like what they were going for there. I'd like to see more of that. How can you engage the viewer as part of the narrative? One of my criticisms of the film is that the 3D models that we used in the animation did feel a bit unfinished. There was a stylistic choice with the muscles and the way the mesh sort of worked in with that on the muscles of the luchadors, but even the wife and the son, who didn't have that sort of style to them, their models just didn't feel. It felt like someone quickly threw something together in Blender, and that was that. Now, I'm not a Spanish speaker, but I do wonder why the creators of this film chose to make it in English. Why choose English when clearly this was meant to be a Spanish film? It seems really obvious to me. It's set in Mexico, there's mentions of the Day of the Dead, and there's even some Spanish sort of colloquialisms and the Spanish speech in there, but they revert to English. I didn't fully understand that. I would have loved to have seen just a short in another language. What do subtitles look like in VR? How can they be achieved effectively? And start to explore some of those open questions. One of the standouts for me in this film was the lighting. There was flames going up, and there was use of green in particular sections, and there was halo effects, and there was all sorts of amazing lighting effects. And when you combine that with these awesome surround sound of the crowd around the boxing ring in the middle, and some of the call-outs from the crowd and the interesting audio effects, even a few game effects in there, like a fighting game, and sound effects as if this were all in a video game. That all was fun, it was interesting, it added to a lot of comedy in this little film, and that all served, when you put it all together, to create a really polished experience, with the one exception there being the 3D models. That part wasn't quite as polished, but overall, it took the headset off feeling I've just basically watched something like a Pixar short, although this obviously isn't Pixar. Overall, this was a really touching film, family. I went and showed my wife after taking the headset off, because it had those tear-jerk moments. It was really exciting to see an established film and television director get in there and play with the 360 video. I hope that we can see a bit more of that established directors coming into this little space. If you'd like to see more of these VR film reviews, where I'm just trying to discuss about what works and what doesn't in VR film, then please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment to let me know that you're enjoying it.